Hello everyone, welcome back to Rolling Solo. My name is Adam Smith, and in this Kickstarter preview series, we're going to be taking an in-depth look at the Sands of Shurax. This is part of the HEXplore It line of products. This is volume number 3 we'll be taking a look at. There's 2 volumes before this, and if you've been following the channel for some time, you'll remember we actually covered Valley of the Dead King on the channel in the past. So if you click the eye in the top right hand corner of this video, you'll be able to go ahead and find that playthrough if you're just dying to see content for this game right away. But if you want to see what this game has for you in terms of its new mechanics as well as what it brings in from the previous volumes, you're going to want to check out the ongoing Kickstarter as well as this ongoing Kickstarter preview series as it moves along and shows you how the Sands of Shurax plays. So I'm really excited to do this alongside of you guys. I'll be throwing some questions your way at the end of each video as to what we do next. And in this video, it'll solely be about the setup. No rules explanations here, but later on when we get to the playthrough, we will definitely be talking about how the game plays. One thing I do want to mention is that I am being compensated for my time with this game. So without further ado, let's go ahead and find out how the Sands of Shurax sets up, at least in its prototype form. And that's something else to be aware of, is the fact that everything you see here during this Kickstarter preview series is in prototype form and is subject to change. As well, not all of the exclusives that are going to be unlocked during the ongoing Kickstarter will be shown or seen here. Now it's time to begin the setup of the Sands of Shurax. The very first step of setup is to choose your hero. Now, we played Valley of the Dead King some time ago, and during that playthrough, I played two-handed solo, controlling 2 characters at once. In this one, I'm going to choose to play true solo, showing you how that can work with just 1 character under my control. We really are going at this in the true solo form. So we have 6 characters inside this prototype to choose from, or 6 roles. So we're going to go ahead and choose that role first. The first one I have right here in front of me is the Scion. This is the Gambler, the Gladiator, the Commander, the Merchant, and finally the Templar. Now, even though all 6 of these different roles were extremely tempting, I'm really liking the look of this Commander. You can choose to randomly select your role if you'd like to go that route, but you can also select a role even just based on the art on the back or the stats on the opposite side of this board. Now that I've gone ahead and chosen the Commander as my role, we now need to choose our race. Here are the 6 races included in the Kickstarter prototype, and that's very, very important to mention, as there are a lot more races that are going to be included in the final version, as well as a lot more roles. So you'll be able to check the Kickstarter page to see the combination numbers on those as it starts to get extremely high when you talk about replayability. Mixing your role and your race is what makes the essence of your character and starts them on their journey. Each of these race cards are going to impact different vitals, abilities, or skills as depicted on the cards. So you can take a look at them face up as I have here, looking at the title of each, the flavor text, and also, as I mentioned, stats. Or you can flip them upside down, shuffle them together, and pick one at random. Now, I've already taken a look through all of these ones, and I'm going to go ahead and choose Duran. Now, Durans are hardworking and the world's greatest negotiators. You are proficient in bribing. Once per game turn, you may pay up to an item's gold cost using your energy instead of your gold. Something else to keep in mind when you're choosing your role for your playthrough is that there are 5 major categories that roles fall into, and they're all color-coded as you can see right here. I've got 5 of the 6 different roles that we just talked about a few seconds ago here laid out so we can talk about each of the different colors. So this one right here at the very top in a burgundy color is the Striker, dealing damage. Next up is the blue one here, which is represented for healing. You have the middle one here. Brown is a utility character or a specialty character. This purple color here is a sapper or a debuffer type character. And finally, the commander that we chose is an assist character or buffer character. Now we come to the character creation step where we're going to fill out our character stats. And so obviously we have some base stats because of the role we've chosen. We are the commander. We have an ability section here on the player board comprised of 4 different things that we can do, like attack, defend and use an item, first mastery and second mastery, and then terminology that actually relates to the type of role that we are. So the commander obviously uses militaristic or military army type terminology like command or formation, bolster or coordinated assault. So we'll be looking at the smaller text above it that says this red one here is considered attack, this orange one here is defend and use an item, this one right here is first mastery, and this one right here is second mastery. So where do you get those numerical values from? Well, they're in a small hex rate to the hex that they actually apply to. So 2 right here will go into this, so I'll have a 2 on my attack to start the game for command. 3 will go in here, 1 in here, 2 in here, and you follow that same logic all the way across your map or player board until you have all of those hexes filled out. Now what's going to change that on top of the base amounts you get for your roll is your race card, and your race card has all these different vitals, abilities, and skills which correspond to the ability section, the skills section, or the vital section, and they're going to plus, minus, or do nothing to those particular areas. So we're going to account for all of that. Quick math. I'm going to fill this all in with a dry erase marker. I have finished putting in the ability stats, skill stats, and vital stats based on what I start with for being a commander, plus my race card as well. So we'll go through each of these. The attack one here for command had no bonus to it. As you can see here, it was a 0 on the attack, so nothing added to it. It stays at a 2. Next up, this was a 3, defend and use item, but we got a 2+ bonus for defending, so that's going to bump this to a 5. First mastery, it's a 1, and we had absolutely no bonus there, so 1. Same thing here for second mastery, but we started at 2, so we get 2. Down below in the skills section here, we got a nice +2 on our navigate check, so that's going to jump us from 2 to 4. From explore, we started with 1, another +2 gets us to 3, and then survival stays put with no extra bonus. Over here on the health, you can see we got bonuses in both categories. Started with a 7 for health and jumped up to an 8 total with a +1 at the very top here. Energy from a 5 +2 is 7, and then I've just gone ahead and put them as the current state of health and energy right here, because you have your maximum health and maximum energy, and this is your current state of health and energy. Now there's other things to talk about on this player board as well. You'll notice at the beginning or the top of this race card it says favorite opponent creature. That information is going to sit right here along with a name, and I'm going to go ahead and fill those in right now. So my commander is going to be called Vorum, and again his favorite opponent is creatures, so he's got those labeled in here. The next thing we're going to want to do as part of the setup is our food and our gold. When you're starting a brand new character, you begin with 10 gold, so I'm going to go ahead and put a 10 right in there. Also for the food rating, which is very important throughout gameplay, you'll take a look at your race card and it will mention what your food rating is. You always get 3 times that when you start. So you'll actually going from 0 all the way up to 6. But you can see right here it says food rating, so I'll be putting a 2 in here. But in terms of how much food I actually have on me, I'm going to go ahead and go from 0 all the way up to 6. And you can use the dry erase marker to basically erase your rations as you use them. You'll see right here, it even reminds you, you may carry up to 5 times your initial food rating. So that's something else worth mentioning. The second major step in setup is to set up the game board itself. You're going to want to find the circumstance bar and the caravan master bar, both of which are actually broken into 2 different pieces, and once connected make up one of the bars. So this one right here specific to caravan, the one above here that's connected specific to circumstances. Next, you're going to want to find the 4 major quadrants inside of the game, and you'll see they're A, B, C, and D, and you're going to want to go ahead and make sure that they're connected with these different hexes on the sides of each of the bars. So there's 3 right here, 3 over there, 3 on this far side, and 3 just off screen here. You can configure this any way you want, giving you a lot of replayability in where you actually decide to connect them. So in this particular case, I'm going to connect this one just like this. On the other side of the game board, I've got these 2 quadrants placed like so. Next, find the hot tiles, which is this pile right here, shuffle them up without looking at them, and then go ahead and reveal the top one. This is going to be the first tile played in the center of the game board. The Circumstances deck is then shuffled and placed like so. We're going to draw 4 cards off the top and slot them into each of the 4 slots here on this Circumstances bar. So the first one off the top is going to be Vagabonds. They're slotted in right here. Next one, the Lunar Blade, which is actually labeled a treasure. Next up, the Cliff City into the 3rd slot, and finally, the Crystal Deposit. Now we're going to fill out this bottom bar, which is called the Caravan bar, by putting in the Caravan Master cards shuffled like so, as well as the Caravan Event cards shuffled like so. And finally, the Mutations deck right here. The Power Up deck is also shuffled and placed off to the side. We'll place it right here. Something that's important to note with this prototype is that the caravan locations are not depicted on the map themselves, so I'm going to place some markers to depict those caravans, and they're going to be in 4 different places on the game board. The first one is right here. Another caravan is located right here. There is a caravan here. And the final caravan is right here. Now we're going to place the 4 mission decks for each of the cities just off to the sides of each of those particular quadrants. As you can see on each of the 4 major quadrants that we already placed at the beginning of the board setup, there is a city tile in each of them with a corresponding hex or a number through 1, 2, or 3 relating to some of the different cities that can be visited during the adventure. So in this case, the hex city is this one right here. So we'll place the mission cards like so. We'll be doing this for all 4 quadrants. City number 1 has its mission cards placed like so. This quadrant is in the bottom left-hand corner of the map. In the bottom right-hand quadrant, we have city number 2, so we'll be placing those mission cards like so. And finally, the last city, number 3, is in the top left-hand corner. We'll be placing the mission cards right here. Now that we have successfully placed all the mission card decks, we're going to take the top card from each of these decks and reveal it. What's important to note on the top of each of these cards is this banner across the very top saying Bounty, and then the actual terrain that it's going to be encounterable at. Plus, it talks about reputation, which we'll dive into in gameplay, and then rewards finally, along with a whole bunch of text as to how the encounter is going to pan out. The second mission revealed is an aid mission. Escorting is going to be part of this one. And next we have an explore mission. Finally, the last city is another explore mission. Next, we'll place the rest of the tokens on these bars. So the first one goes on the caravan bar here. It's these tokens. I'll place them like so. These are gambling den tokens. So gambling dens can basically be purchased in a particular city, which we'll see later on. And these locations earn the group platinum each turn, and you can skip the consequence phase while in a gambling den. These tokens denote shops that have been set up by the merchant, and the merchant is a role. If you're not using that role in your playthrough, these tokens are removed. This token right here denotes an ancient bridge. The next token placed in this row, it denotes the Cliff City, which ironically actually came up as one of our circumstance cards, so we may see this one in the future. Next up, we have the Well of Sorrow. We have a cave right here. This is Urom's tomb. And finally, we have Thumble York's Boom Service token. Now, all these tokens relate to specific circumstance cards, otherwise you may never see them in your given playthrough. But as you saw, we do have the Cliff City, so there's potential we could see this. Any other tiles that are not called for during the setup can just be placed in stacks outside of the game area. The last set of tokens that will sit on the caravan bar are these hex tokens, and you're going to use these tokens to show which bosses, missions, or other event locations you've cleared in your journey. So any location with a hex token on it becomes a normal location. Lastly, place a hex die like so on the caravan bar. Every character in play needs a navigate die, as well as an explore die, and a survival die. There will also be a number of large reference cards which are going to be great for referencing the enemies or monsters that you're going to be going up against, the big bosses, and these are an example of some of them here in the prototype, as well as reference sheets which are specific to the game turns themselves. We'll see this when we jump into part number 1 of the playthrough. And then there are reference sheets which are specific to some of the cities or major locations that you'll find within the game world. Again, we'll reference these when we actually land in these particular locations. You're going to also want to make sure you have the battle mat within easy reach, as you'll definitely be using this during the journey of Sands of Shurax. It also has a nice reference along the bottom here for all the different difficulty levels and how to implement them in your playthrough. And finally, we're going to choose exactly where we're going to start the commander on the journey through the Sands of Shurax. And we have 2 location choices right now. We can start right here on the caravan bar, as you can see depicted by this icon right here, or we could start up here. Now you might be wondering, what about this central tile? Is it just there to get there? Is it just a placeholder? Well, in an older version of this game, it used to be that you put this center tile in the middle of the map, but in the most recent version of this game, this center tile that is drawn off the top of the deck of the Hot Tiles deck, which we did earlier, can actually be placed in any orientation next to whichever of these 2 bars we choose to start at. So this is going to be a question thrown back to you guys. I'm going to, for now, place my character down here and choose the bottom bar as our starting location. It'll also make it easier for you guys to see as we journey out, but I'd like to know how we should orientate this particular hot tile so that maybe it's advantageous for us. Now, only individuals who have played HEXplore It before are going to have a little bit of insight as to maybe the best way to orientate this tile, but I would still love to hear any feedback at all about how we should actually connect this to our location right here that we're beginning at. So in the comments below, let me know what you think we should do. Now, it might be a little hard to describe exactly what you're thinking in terms of which one of these hexes should actually go in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually go ahead and just number these so that we can make this a lot easier. So if you want this one to be placed flipped around and in here, this will be 1. Then we'll go 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. So let me know in the comments below, which of those particular hexes on the outside do you want to see slotted in right here? We'll go with the majority on this one and go from there. And that is going to conclude the setup for the Sands of Shurax for HEXplore It. I cannot wait until we start the gameplay video with you guys to see how this journey unfolds. I'll be looking for your feedback on this starting tile and how we connect it in right here. 1 as we numbered all the way through to 6. Let me know your number in the comments below as to how we should orient the tile. Cannot wait to see how that pans out, because that is going to start us off on the first leg of our journey out into the desert together. Thanks again for watching, and as always, keep on rolling solo.